Okay, hi. My name is Maria, and I'm a leader with Levetti in Cork. And I've been a leader for 8 years now, I think. And I have 3 children. Freya is 14, and Xavier is 5, and Aurora is 2. And today I'm going to talk about realistic expectations in the early days of mothering and breastfeeding. So I have some information and I have some quotes. And I was part of this online group for my third baby. She was born in December 14 mammies. And it was a great support actually. So I asked some of the mums what their expectations were in their early days. And so they gave me some great quotes, and I thought I would share those as well as I go along and talk. I don't have any laptops or anything. I've got pages here in front of me, so I'll be buffering through my pages. So just to start, we hear and read that breastfeeding is the biological norm, and it's natural, and yes, it is. Only while the majority of mothers initiate breastfeeding, some are unable to sustain their breastfeeding relationship long enough to meet their own breastfeeding goals. So I wonder why that is. So unfortunately in Ireland, we have lost 2 generations of breastfeeders. In other countries where breastfeeding rates are high, mothers-to-be will have been surrounded by breastfeeders all their life. They would have seen it grown up when they were children, neighbours, aunts, mothers, sisters, friends. So this makes all the difference to their breastfeeding journey. So I have a quote here from a mum. She said, "I would cuddle more. I was the first of all my friends to have babies. So I didn't have any experience to relate to. My mum minded kids as we were growing up, and I always remember her saying not to pass the baby around and not to spoil it by picking it up all the time. So that was at the back of my mind with the twins. Even when I was breastfeeding in the first few weeks, I was so conscious of feeding her and putting her back down. It wasn't until my mum said to me a few weeks after my second set of twins were born that she felt that I could have spent more time cuddling. Apparently, time and opinion had changed, but no one had informed me, and I wish I had listened to my gut feeling and cuddled them a lot more. And sometimes I still feel pangs of guilt about that," she said. So I guess the first expectation when our babies are born is that they will latch on straight away. So all going well, most home births, hospital births, will deliver babies out of mommy's tummy. And then the baby is covered with a blanket, and they can rest quietly while you both catch your breath after the journey. So you can put that in your birth plan. You can ask for those things to happen as well. Some hospitals don't do it, and you may have to ask for those things. I think when we think about breastfeeding, we think, okay, baby's born, let's get baby latched on. But actually, what babies and mothers really need is some quiet time, so that the baby can just lie still on the mum's tummy, and then they will start to become more awake and alert. And don't rush them to feed. Basically, look for their feeding signals. I just read there recently, it was really interesting actually, is that not to dry their hands, that they have the amniotic fluid on their hands. So, and it's also, it's the same smell that comes off the areola. So they will, if they start mouthing their hands, then they'll get that smell and that taste, and then they'll start moving towards the breast. And they'll start sucking their fingers, and they'll become more awake and alert, and then they'll start to sense their world around them as well. And they'll move towards the breast and latch on, hopefully. So that can happen within the first hour. My first, she was born at home. She didn't feed for hours and hours, but I suppose because she was born at home, there was no rush, and I don't know how long it was maybe 5 or 6 hours before she actually latched on. But when she did, it was all fine, and she started to feed. But again, it's different if you have a baby at home or you have your baby in hospital. You have different pressures and expectations to meet. So our next expectation commonly is how often will baby feed. So we've all been raised in bottle feeding culture, so we've no idea what normal baby behaviour looks like. We expect our babies to feed maybe every 3 hours. We expect them to sleep for long stretches. We expect them to be happy and cooing while waiting to be fed. I have another quote here from another mum. So set, stop and breathe them in. You can't do it all. No one can get people. You can get people to bring dinner or don't let them in. New babies sleep, but it can be in sharp bursts. I stressed and clock watched so much. Second time round, I expected no sleep, and I have been pleasantly surprised that I'm getting a bit more. She is waking quite a bit to feed, but I know that's normal now, and how we have survived as humans. So yeah, because our perception of sleep is so different for each of us. Like, you know, we might wake up once in the night and think we didn't sleep really well, and then for somebody else, you know, you could sleep all through the night. But our babies normally sleeping through the night is like about 5 hours. But again, in the very early days, because breast milk is so it's low in protein and low in fat, so babies have to feed very, very often. And we're also like mammals we carry our babies, and so they feed often and little. And sometimes because we're expecting them to stretch out their feeds, even in the very early days, and we're being told that, they can get very upset, and that can lead to other things as well that may look like reflux, or that there's other stuff going on, but it may just be that they need to be fed little and often. And that can sound overwhelming when you're a first-time mum, but if you can just kind of just go with the flow and just surrender to it in a way. So so feeding baby in the early days, little and often, as I was saying, keeping baby close, skin to skin, is wonderful. If you're in the hospital in your nightie, get one of those button-down nighties and put baby in there, and staying in bed. Best piece of advice I got: stay in bed, and just let everybody wait on you. And because you're well rested then, and your baby has access to the breast, and you can and that'll get your milk supply after a good start then. So in those early days and weeks, you can let your support person, your partner, your extended family know to take care of the practicalities of life, so the cleaning and the cooking. If they're worried about not bonding with the baby, as some partners do, many do, they can do changing, they can do bathing, they can actually do skin to skin as well. It's just as beneficial. If it's coming from mom, granny can do skin to skin. Many people can do the skin to skin. It's a benefit to the baby. If you don't have a partner, like granny could do skin to skin. And a group mum just shared their recently at a meeting how her partner used to bath the baby. So they used to put the baby into the bath on its own. He would go into the bath and she would hand him the baby, and then they would have the bath together, and now they go swimming together. So that's their lovely bond. So really, the people who are taking care of you, that's their main job, is to take care of you and let you rest and get as much time with baby, get to know the baby. And then with your extended family, they can be very well intentioned and wanting to help. So perhaps let them know what help will be needed beforehand, and stocking up the fridge, bringing over meals, so when they can visit. Some families choose not to tell people that their baby is born. I know some families who've done that for a couple of days, so they can just have that kind of quiet honeymoon period, baby moon period. So that because having lots of people trying to come in on top of you in the first couple of days can be a bit exhausting as well for new mums. And especially when they come home from the hospital, there's that kind of transitionary time between going from having all these people there taking care of you in the hospital, and then suddenly you're on your own. You kind of have to adjust to that. So I'm just a couple more quotes here. For me, I remember wishing I didn't put so much expectation on myself to be Mother Nature. In my head, when we got home from hospital, we would sit in a perfectly clean house with lovely clothes on, and we would all sit and goo at this beautiful baby. My reality was engorged to sore boobs, a filthy house, mean PJs, as everything else wouldn't fit. I was too sore after the section. I just wish I relaxed and cuddled on the couch with my little man and not given the care in the world for visitors on what they thought of how I was mothering my baby. And another one said, I wish I had expected more of the support that was offered to me. I felt I was expecting defeat if I couldn't do it all by myself, and I didn't make the same mistake second time round. I made sure that I asked for help. So, and there's many ways you can ask for help. Literally, we're here to help, and you can call us. I don't know if we say 24/7. I know some leaders who have got calls in the middle of the night. And Could You and Friends of Breastfeeding, they're all there to help as well. And I suppose as well, your when people think of babies crying, they think they're crying with hunger, but really that is the last signal for babies. There's a really good, there's some infographics and there's some really good pictures of babies' cues online. If you look up just baby feeding cues, there's some really good pictures because really when you get to the baby crying and then you go to pick them up, they become very disorganized and such, so they can't really latch onto the breast. So they need to be comforted first and then brought back and try to get them onto the breast. So, crying doesn't always equal hunger. In fact, crying, as I said, is the last signal of hunger. So yeah, I think that's it. I have another quote from a mum. To follow your heart, to make your own decisions that you can live with down the road. Everyone else has struggles and challenges too, especially the ones who look like they have everything perfect. Most of all, remember to say to yourself, I am a good mother and each baby is different. We're each having the best mother this baby can have. Worry less, set stop and breathe them in. And this was my Bible, The Womanly Art of Breastfeeding. It's a really great book. It talks about growth spurts. It kind of carries you well on beyond the babyhood time as well. And this one as well, Sweet Sleep, talks about all the normal sleeping patterns of babies and what to expect and what is a normal sleeping pattern. I don't think there is any really normal sleeping patterns. We're all individuals. We all have different needs and ways of sleeping. Some people choose to co-sleep. I've found that particularly the best way to get sleep. And actually going to sleep during the day, going for a nap with your baby during the day is a great way as well to rest. I still do it, and she's nearly 2.5. It's a great way. And actually, at the Lilith conference, we were talking about menstruation. And mothers when they're breastfeeding, they don't get their period back for a certain time. Some mothers, again, it's also different. You can't generalize it, but actually having the nap with the baby during the day is another way of delaying the menstruation coming back. So I found that really interesting because I didn't know anything. I didn't know I was doing that, but I always chose to go and have the nap as well during the day. So if anybody has any questions or thoughts or anything they want to share about their early days, please do.
Really, I suppose just thinking about what is it valuable to go to line up your support before the baby comes? Is that something that mothers found in your experience that worked well?
Yeah, definitely going to a military meeting actually before your baby comes along. Going to Purdue, finding a friends and breastfeeding buddy. They're all really good things to do before the baby comes along. And some people do breastfeeding classes as well. Actually, some of the quotes as well. I wish I went to a lecture meeting before baby was born. I might have learned about growth spurts. And then some people are worried about going to community groups and not knowing what to say. And that was another mum said, don't be afraid of the community groups out there. Although they can be daunting to show up to when you don't know anyone. Every single person there once was there for the first time, and there are other people who have been there. They're happy to listen and they are trained to help. And I suppose today as well, like people find it very hard to pick up the phone and make that phone call, because we're so used to talking online now, like not actually using our voice or whatever. We're typing, and like Facebook groups are fantastic. I mean, they're such a great support, but sometimes actually the art of talking to somebody and teasing it out and not just getting like 70 opinions where you're kind of going, okay, what am I going to do? Which one will I pick? Or, so definitely going to a meeting and meeting mothers and sitting down talking with them and having a cup of tea and cake. Cake is very important in the early days.
I was talking to a mum here today and she thought she couldn't go to a meeting unless she had a problem.
Okay.
And I thought that was interesting that she didn't think because everything was fine that she should or could go to seek support. So I think that's a really, It's
yeah.
important to know. It's just can be just social. It can.
Absolutely, yeah. And I actually went to La Leche League originally myself. My first meeting was because I wasn't having any problems. I was everything was going good. I just wanted to go and see and meet other mums, and I'd heard lots about it down through the years as well. And yeah, I walked in and I found my tribe, and I didn't look back. And yeah, it's great, and I met loads of really good friends as well. Like, and you need friends, you need your tribe. So yeah. Definitely going along to a meeting just as socially, and a lot of mothers do talk about feeling isolated on their first baby and feeling overwhelmed, trying to get that buggy all set up and out the door. Slings are great. So much more easier to leave the house with just a sling. And cloth nappies are great. Just throw one in the bag and out the door. And I used to always say, have boobs will travel. It was great. It was so easy. Like, you could go anywhere and you didn't have to think about packing up loads of stuff. I think I used to leave the house with like a nappy and and just myself and baby in a sling. And yeah, I had loads of adventures in one. Two is quite tricky. Three is impossible. Should do eventually. It's a nice get. So yeah.
Thank you.
And we have these for sale as well. We have a store, so if anybody wants to get any.